And hello, everyone. Happy Tuesday to each and every one of you. Glad to have you back for another story time evening with me, your professional narrator and live reader, Tim Maloney, where I bring the written word to life. Oh, yeah. So, last read was Saturday? Saturday. Yeah, it's Tuesday, so it was Saturday. In the last read, we covered a book by, let's see, what was the name? What was the name? You gotta remember the names, don't I? That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. That's my story. Oh, that's my story. I ain't got a witness, and you know I can't prove it. But that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. Angels of Sodom by X.J. May. We read the first chapter, and, well, what a spicy chapter it was. Ah, yes, if you like some saucy language in your readings, that might be a chapter to check out. We only read chapter 1 of the book. I'm pretty sure YouTube would ban me if I tried reading more than that. It, yeah, some of the words, I suppose I should have read it ahead of time, but why would I want to do that? That's no fun. I like to experience it with each and every one of you. And then we read chapter 1 and chapter 11 of Tall Boy's Son. Those basically, it is about, well, an alcoholic father who is striving to become a space pilot. We got to read a little bit of the first chapter of the intro, and then we jumped into chapter 11, where there's some excitement happening. And there we go. And then we read chapter 1 of Barefoot in the Parking Lot by Vineet Verma. All of the readings from Saturday are, of course, available on the YouTube channel, youtube.com/@SirArminius, where all of the chapters that I read live get recorded and live in perpetuity, or until the author asks me to take it down, because, frankly, this is their work. I just give it voice. So we'll live with whatever way that comes out for us. But hey, you can go check them all out there. Those chapters are, of course, up there. And we will be kicking in tonight. And we'll continue into chapter 2 through 5 of Barefoot in the Parking Lot by Vineet Verma. Once Barefoot in the Parking Lot is done, we will be moving on to, let me show you guys as we move forward. We will be moving into Shattered Lives by Vineet Verma. And once again, I'll read a couple of chapters of this one. I will be reading the prologue and the first 2 chapters, enough to give you a little taste. And if you are interested in it, they are available on books2read.com. Links are on the YouTube and Rumble channels, and they will be on the recorded videos. And then once we finish with Shattered Lives, we will be moving on to Devious Minds. Once again, by Vineet Verma. They are short stories packed with suspense. So we'll read through a number of the short stories until we run out of time. Once that happens, we'll call it for the evening, and we'll get ready for next week. Well, I say next week, but it's Saturday, where we will be diving into some brand new authors once again. I hope you guys are all excited. As always, please make sure you are stopping out there and supporting these indie authors in the work that they do. Part of the reason why I do these live reads is, for starters, I love live reading. It gives me great practice in different genres as I go through these. But one of the hardest things for indie authors is marketing. When you are when you have an agent and you are going through a publishing house, the publishing house takes care of the majority of your marketing. When you're an indie author, you are the writer, the editor, the proofreader, possibly the graphic artist, and you are also the marketer. It's a hard job. I do my part to be able to give back to the indie author community as they have given so much to me. And so, let's get ready. As mentioned, we'll be continuing with Barefoot in the Parking Lot. In Chapter 1 of Barefoot in the Parking Lot, we found a dead body. Could you guess? That's right. It was Barefoot in a parking lot. We know who it is. It is a big tech CEO. We got to experience a couple of different viewpoints. The viewpoints of the gentleman who found the body, some detectives, the wife. All different viewpoints that we got to see. And now, we'll dive in and find out more about what's going on in this story. Just a reminder, because I do record all of these, I do not stop in the middle of the chapter to engage with chat. However, I am quite thrilled to engage with chat in between chapters. I will check on out to see if anybody has had anything to say in the various streams across that I go on. Where am I on tonight? I am on Twitch, YouTube. I am on Rumble. I am on X. I am on TikTok. Wherever you happen to be, I am happy to engage with you. YouTube is the main channel that I engage with people, but I am happy to engage with you wherever you may have a question. So if you find you have a question, please put it out there. I am happy to answer. Whether it's about the book I'm reading now, books I've read before, anything about voice acting, or hell, I wrote a book. Would you like to know about how to write a book or be a novelist? I'm happy to answer any questions that you have. But now, sit back, relax, and prepare to enjoy as we dive into an indie author night featuring author Vineet Verma with various of his books and stories, starting with Barefoot in the Parking Lot, Chapter 2, The Wife. January 18. It was exactly 2 a.m. when Angela and Paul walked up the path to Jay Sharma's front door in San Jose. It took a few attempts at the doorbell before they heard movement inside. The door was soon opened by a beautiful Indian woman with sleep-laden eyes and an inquisitive look. "Miss Sharma? I am Detective Angela White, and this is my partner, Paul Conley, from Sunnyvale DPS. DPS? Department of Public Safety, clarified Angela, as she held out her badge. Oh, I see. Is that your police department? Asked Maya, a hint of anxiety in her voice. Yes, it is. What is this about? May we come in? It will be better if we talk inside. Yes, please. Maya stepped aside to let them in. Once they were all seated, Angela began. Well, I'm afraid I have some bad news. We found a body, a man, and we have identified him as Jay Sharma. Maya gasped in shock, her hand moving to her mouth. Jay is dead? As she said this, she leaned forward, her hands shaking, her eyes welled up. Angela rushed to comfort Maya. Paul brought her a glass of water from the kitchen. By now she was sobbing inconsolably. Her reaction was quite typical and not surprising. The unexpected demise of a spouse could be shocking for most people. But the suspicious detective and Angela wondered whether it was all an act. "We're so sorry for your loss." How, how did he? Maya tried to ask in between sobs. "It's still too early to be sure, but it appears he was poisoned." Poisoned? Who would do such a thing? We don't know yet, but we are trying our best to find out. Where did you find him? Behind one of the businesses in Sunnyvale downtown. Sunnyvale? So you didn't know he was going to be there today? Asked Angela, noting the confusion on Maya's face. No, he works in Milpitas. Didn't tell me about any plans after work. Perhaps he went there for a business meeting. It's possible, but he didn't mention anything. Miss Sharma, did your husband have any enemies? Anyone who would want to hurt him in this way? Enemies? No one I can think of. Are you sure this was not a random attack? Asked Maya, wiping her eyes as she did so. We can't say yet. I assume he carried cash and credit cards? Yes. In fact, he liked to carry a lot of cash, and he had some premium credit cards. Were those missing? Yes. You should cancel the cards as soon as possible. Maya nodded and took a sip of water. Angela hesitated before probing further. This was supposed to be a next of kin notification. Would it be appropriate to interview her now? She decided to continue, since Maya was a lot more composed and didn't seem to mind the questions. Anything else of value we should know about? A Rolex. And our wedding ring. That was expensive. We didn't find either. Another odd thing. His feet were bare. Bare? He always wore white socks and New Balance sneakers, Maya replied with a baffled expression. I see. Miss Sharma, you can call me Maya. Maya, did you notice anything unusual today? Maya considered the question for a moment, then responded. No, it was like any other work day. We both dashed off early, and I expected him to be back by the time I got home. Usually I get home before him, but it was a busy day. Did you try to locate him once you got home? Yes. I tried to call and text him, but got no response. My neighbors didn't know anything either. Robert, his co-worker, said Jay left work at 7 p.m. 7 p.m.? And he is sure about this? That's what he told me. I didn't probe further. By now the strain was beginning to show on Maya's face. Angela glanced at Paul. He nodded to acknowledge that they should end the interview and let Maya recover. Maya, thank you for your cooperation. We understand this is a very difficult time. Is there someone we can call for you? No, thank you. I will be fine. Are you sure? Yes, don't worry. Well, don't hesitate to contact us if you have any questions, said Angela as she handed her card to Maya. Oh, one last thing. What car did Jay drive? Tesla Model S White. License plate? He had a custom plate. Maya spelled it out. We'll look for it. Do you have a key? There is a spare key here, but didn't you find one in his pocket? No, no keys. He should have had the car key and the house keys. Never left home without them. Those were likely stolen as well. We would advise you to change your locks right away. If the killer knows where you live, he could easily get inside. Thank you. I will do that. You referred to the killer as a he. You are certain a man did it? Oh, no. It's just that most killers are men, so that came out of habit. We're open to all possibilities at this point. By the way, we didn't find a cell phone either. I assume he carried one? Yes, he had an iPhone. So that was stolen too? Quite likely. Oh. When can I see Jay? Asked Maya in a feeble tone. He is still at the crime scene. The coroner will move him once we are done there. We will contact you once he is ready. It could take a few days since we have to conduct an autopsy. That's when you can formally identify the body." "And then I take him?" "Yes." "I see." Maya's voice grew feebler. Angela wanted to ask for the car key, but figured they had pushed Maya enough. She would try to locate the car first and get the key later. As soon as the detectives left, Maya crashed into bed, her body aching. She wanted to sleep, but the empty space in the bed next to her reminded her of her loss. She tried to get it out of her mind, and finally, around 6 a.m., she fell asleep. But it didn't last long. At 8 a.m., her doorbell rang. It was Anjali, looking concerned, even more so once he saw Maya's teary-eyed face. "Maya, is everything okay? Did Jay get home last night?" "They found him, Anjali. He is dead," Maya struggled to say as she broke down in tears. Anjali gasped, but she composed herself and stepped in to comfort her. Maya related what had happened. Anjali stayed a while until she was sure her friend was doing okay. "Maya, I have to get back to the kids. Mukesh has to leave for work, but do let me know if you need anything. I will check back on you later." "Thanks, Anjali." The door shut and Maya was all alone again. She called her boss and told him what had happened. She wouldn't be going into work for a few days. Then she crawled back into bed to get some sleep, tears still flowing. I would say, and I think many of you guys would probably agree with me, I don't think the wife did it. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe we just have an unreliable narrator here. Those things happen, but my guess would be the wife was not involved. But who ever knows? Did you ever know that you're Anjali? Sure, why not? We'll sing that way. All right. I see no questions, comments, or concerns from anyone, so let us just continue on with Chapter 3, Breaking News. January 18. Angela arrived at the station, tired and bleary-eyed. She hadn't slept much, but she had a job to do. Besides, a new case always excited her. It was a challenge which she gladly accepted, but she wasn't prepared for what she saw once she stepped out of the car. A mob of reporters rushed her way as she started walking towards the station. Angela sighed. This was the reason she hated cases involving famous people. Everyone was interested, with the media at the top of the pile. It had only been a few hours since the body was found, and it seemed like the entire world knew about it. Social media was buzzing with the news. Even some local newspapers had managed to squeeze in a small piece about it, though it had been late for their print window. All this without any formal release of information from DPS. She was soon surrounded by the mob, but she tried to keep moving. "Detective White, do you have anything to say about Jay's murder?" asked one reporter. "Do you know who did it?" asked another one. "Is it true that his throat was slit?" Angela rolled her eyes as she continued walking. Where did that come from? There were a few more inane questions before she stopped and replied. "There's a press conference at 11 a.m. You will get your answers there." Then she rushed into the welcoming arms of the building. She walked to the chief's office and waited outside while Cynthia Crowley wrapped up the call she was on. Paul soon joined Angela, looking quite puffy-eyed himself. On the bright side, they would not have to be at the press conference. Cynthia was going to handle it herself, allowing her team to focus on the case. Hence, the meeting, to brief her on the status. Ordinarily, they would be having this discussion with their lieutenant, but they didn't have one at present. He had retired around Christmas, and the vacancy had not yet been filled. Cynthia had been promoted to chief the previous year, capping an impressive 30-year career at Sunnyvale DPS. Angela would be the first to admit that Cynthia was not perfect, but she admired and respected the woman for her accomplishments and the way she ran the organization. The door opened and the chief let them in. Standing at only 5'2", she was physically dwarfed by Angela and Paul, but she had a personality that commanded authority. She got right to the point as soon as everyone was seated. "So, what do we have so far?" Angela briefed her on what had happened and the evidence they had found. "Any leads on the pin?" "I checked Jay and Maya's online profiles, but I didn't find any connection to Purdue." "So it could have been dropped by the killer." "It's possible. We will be considering it as we weigh subjects." "And the woman in the pink skirt?" "Nothing yet. We will check her for security cameras in the area to see if we can identify her." "What about the wife?" "And can't rule her out just yet." "Okay, keep up the good work. This one is going to be in the spotlight, so we need quick progress." "You got it, Cynthia." "Fine. Now I have a press conference to attend. Keep me posted." Soon the detectives were back at the crime scene. It was important to inspect it in daylight to ensure nothing had been missed the previous night. The body, however, had been moved for the autopsy. Angela was surprised to see Officer Patrick managing the scene, given that he had been working the night before as well. "Yeah, I know. Ended up with some shitty shifts this week." He smiled as they walked up. "You didn't get much sleep either, did you?" "Story of my life," replied Paul with a chuckle. Once again they put on gloves and booties before stepping into the scene. Angela took the left half and Paul the right. The search was thorough but did not turn up anything new. Next they moved on to the canvas. They each picked one side of the street and went to every business to find out if anyone had seen anything the night before. This took a little longer, with the eateries getting busier as it got closer to lunchtime. Paul did his best to block out the sight and aroma of the food and focus on the questioning. Unfortunately, no one had anything to report. A lot of the businesses did not even have surveillance cameras. Of the few that did, some weren't turned on. Just having one in sight was considered enough of a deterrent. By the end, they were able to get copies of video from 3 establishments. They would be reviewing these once they returned to the station. Are they going to find the lady in the pink miniskirt? "I found her. She's on the book cover." That's my story. All right, I don't see any questions from anyone. So, drink deep inside. Let us go ahead and continue, shall we? Hello, hello to everyone out there. Glad to have you guys here with me. As a reminder, please feel free to put in thoughts or comments at any time. I'm happy to answer them in between chapters. And, if you haven't already, I'd love it if you'd stop out to the YouTube channel, youtube.com/@SirArminius, and subscribe. It helps me to support the work that I do for indie authors. All right, let's go ahead and get into excuse me. Let's get into Chapter 4, Maya. January 19. Angela and Paul parked the car in front of Maya's house. It had been dark when they were there last, and Paul had not noticed the charming neighborhood. Every house on the street had its own unique identity. The distinctive architecture made quite an impression, giving each house a grand appearance. The streets were lined with lush green trees and well-maintained bushes. In the distance he could see the beautiful hills kissing the clouds. He would have loved to live in a place like this, but a home here would cost upwards of $1 million. He knew it wouldn't happen in this lifetime. The door was open before they got to it. Maya stood there looking drained, and her bloodshot eyes indicated she had been crying. Angela winced, knowing she was imposing on her too soon. But there was work to be done. A one-day break would be all Maya would get. "Good morning, Maya. How are you holding up?" asked Angela. "It has been difficult." "That's understandable. But you do see this is important to make progress." Yes, I do. Would you like some tea? I was making some for myself." "No, thank you. replied Angela before Paul could answer. She knew he wouldn't say no, but she wanted to keep it professional. Disappointed, he scanned the kitchen. It looked like any regular kitchen, with the usual appliances. The sink was beginning to fill up with dishes. Not surprising, considering what Maya was going through. There was a large fruit bowl in the center of the island. Next to it stood a box of oatmeal. The plastic lid had a huge cut, as if someone had slashed it with a knife. He found it odd and was about to ask her about it when he saw that she had caught him looking at it. She bit her lip and turned away as soon as their eyes met. He made a mental note of it and moved on. Something to think about after the interview. In the meantime, she quietly picked up the box and put it away in the pantry. Angela and Paul seated themselves on the couch while they waited for her. The house was tastefully decorated, and they surveyed it in admiration. There was a fireplace across from them. On the mantel stood a few photo frames with pictures of Maya and Jay, one from their wedding day, another of them bundled up on what looked like a ski trip. They seemed happy. A few minutes later, Maya was back with a piping hot cup of tea. Paul enviously observed her sipping it. Maya, how long were you married? Started Angela. A little over 8 years. No kids? No, we never got around to it. I know I asked you this earlier as well, but during the time you were together, do you know of anyone who might have wanted to harm your husband? Maya thought about it for a few seconds. Well, the truth is, he wasn't easy to get along with, and he did annoy a lot of people. But I don't think it was reason enough for anyone to murder him. Except, now that I think of it. Yes, Maya, what is it? There's Mark Harrison. You know, the Smart Cloud CEO? He had a falling out with Jay a few years ago. Even threatened to kill him one time. But he's a nice man, and I don't think he would follow through. It was probably said in the heat of the moment. Ah, yes. I remember reading something about a lawsuit. Can you refresh my memory? Asked Angela, more for the benefit of Paul. Jay used to work with him at SmartCloud. Then Jay left to start his own venture in the same space. Mark felt blindsided and accused him of stealing IP, but Jay denied the claim. It infuriated Mark, and he filed a lawsuit, which was settled in Jay's favor last year. They had had huge fights on the subject before, but after this result, it was crazy. That's when Mark made his threat. What did he say exactly? Angela tried to keep her excitement in check. This could be another promising lead. Oh, I don't know the exact words he used, and Jay told me about it. He was actually happy. Happy to see Mark squirm. I see. This could be important. We will follow up on this. Anything between them after that? No, that was the last I heard about Mark. Of course, Jay would gloat about his victory all the time, but I don't think he ever communicated with Mark directly after that. Maya hesitated a bit, then added, There is one other thing I think you should know about. It may mean nothing, but I might as well tell you. Go on. Every detail is important, urged Angela, intrigued. About 6 months ago, Jay started receiving threatening letters in the mail, roughly one every 2 weeks. They were all about how someone would murder him because of something he had done in the past. At first, it looked like a practical joke, and we laughed it off. But they continued. He was unconcerned. I was worried. I asked him to report it to the police, but he destroyed them. So you don't have any of the letters? No, but I did manage to take a picture of one before he burned it, and I was able to save one of the envelopes. Maya unlocked her phone and started looking for the picture. While she searched, Angela asked, Are the letters still coming? No, they stopped last month. But I wasn't concerned anymore. I mean, Why would someone go to the trouble of sending so many over the course of months? It didn't make sense. If this person was serious, he would have just done the deed without the drama. Maya stopped swiping. Ah, found it. She showed them the letter. It was a letter-sized sheet of white paper, which had been folded in half and unfolded. Nothing was written on it. Instead, everything was spelled out using letters cut out of a newspaper. Angela's first impression was that it was a prank. The letter said, "Your time has come. Repent before it is too late. You will die for your sins, you scumbag." How about the envelope? Can we see it? Yes, I have it right here. I kept it ready since I knew you would be returning. Maya walked over to the kitchen and took the envelope out of the top drawer. When she was back, Angela noticed it had been crumpled and straightened out. There was no return address. Jay's name and address was on a printed label. The letter had been mailed from Oakland on November 13th, the previous year. Any chance of visible fingerprints was slim, thought Angela. Still, she had Maya place it directly into an evidence bag. We will get this checked out for prints and any other useful clues we can find. Do you mind sending us the pic of the letter? Sure, I will send it now. Sorry about the condition of the envelope. I picked it up after Jay had crumpled it and thrown it in the bin. Don't worry about it. Were the other letters also mailed from Oakland? Oh, I didn't check. I was so focused on the content. It's okay. Don't you find it interesting that they stopped a month before the murder? Yes, I suppose so. In hindsight, I feel they might be related. But I still don't understand why someone would go to all that trouble. Maybe they were warning him, or rather threatening him to do something, or make amends for something. When nothing happened, the writer punished him. In any case, we will follow up on this as well. Were there any other threats of any kind? Any phone calls, emails? None that I know of. Maya. Now, this might be a delicate question, but I have to ask. How was your relationship with Jay? You think I had something to do with his death? Asked Maya, her eyes widening as her hand went up to her mouth. Please don't take it the wrong way. It's a standard question we have to ask. We have to cover all bases. Well, to be honest, he wasn't easy to live with. I can't say I was in love with him anymore. I guess he would say the same. But we managed somehow. This was an interesting development, thought Angela. Did you hate him? Hate him? At times, yes. But not enough to kill him, if that's what you mean. How did the two of you meet? Angela tried a different approach. The traditional Indian way. It was an arranged marriage. My parents found his ad on a matrimonial website and invited his family over. I wasn't interested in getting married at the time, but once I met him, I liked him. He was handsome and dressed smartly. I felt an instant attraction. We saw each other often after that, and as I got to know him better, I started falling in love. He was an intelligent man and could hold a conversation on a variety of subjects. I accepted his proposal, and we got married a few months later. So you did love him at one point? Yes. It's hard to believe, but I did. Things were different once we were together, and I got to see the real Jay. He was quite self-centered and uncaring. Didn't help with the chores at all. I was always so exhausted, managing work and home. It was crushing. He changed for the worse as time went by, and he became more successful in his career. There was an arrogance, an irritability, a total disregard for other people's feelings. So yes, I found I couldn't love him anymore. That sounds awful. You must have fought a lot. Yes, we did, but nothing out of the ordinary. Most couples fight. But you still miss him. What kind of a question is that? Of course I miss him. He was still my husband, and we had a life together," replied Maya, raising her voice. Angela thought she saw her eyes well up a little. "Is that why you never had children?" "Why is it relevant?" asked Maya, showing no signs of backing down. "It's okay. You don't have to answer that. Maya, where were you that evening?" "So we are back to this? I didn't kill him. And if you really want to know, yes, I didn't want to have kids with him. It wouldn't be fair to them to being raised in this environment." "I understand. But please answer the question. Where were you?" "I was working late, and I didn't get home until around 10 p.m., replied Maya, the calm returning to her voice. "Anyone who can confirm that?" "Yes, several members of my team were with me. You can talk to them." "We certainly will. By the way, did either of you have any association with Purdue University?" Angela knew the answer from her own research, but wanted to confirm it. "Purdue? No, we both studied at universities in California." "Thank you, Maya. We don't have any more questions. Sorry to bother you so soon after the tragedy, but we didn't have a choice." "I understand. I'm available in case you think of something else. Oh, and here is his car key. Did you find the car?" "Not yet," replied Angela as the detectives made their way out the door. Angela's phone buzzed as soon as they stepped out of the house. She took the call, then turned to Paul after hanging up. "Quite a coincidence. We just got the car key, and they found Jay's car. It was still in the parking lot at Intelligent Systems." Interesting. Did he Uber it over to Sunnyvale, or did someone else drive him over?" "Another possibility is that he drove there in his own car. We didn't find any keys on him. The killer could have driven his car back to Milpitas to throw us off the track." That's one theory. Quite possible he was meeting someone there. We need his cell phone records. May get some leads. How is that coming along?" "Phone companies dragging their heels as always, but I have my contact working on it." "Skirting the laws?" "Well, the way I look at it, we have the subpoena and are legally entitled to that data. We play by the rules and we get them in a few weeks. Or I use my method and we get them in a few days. We don't have the luxury of weeks. This will help us make progress on the case. The key is to only document any of this formally after we have obtained the records legally. That way we don't get into any trouble." "I like your approach. By the way, did you see the oatmeal box?" "Uh-huh." "What was the deal with that? She was worried when we saw it." "I don't know. Perhaps she did it out of frustration and was embarrassed. It's been a huge loss for her. People cope in different ways. I wouldn't worry about it." "Just odd, that's all." Once the detectives left, Maya closed the door and walked back inside. It was the second time this week she had been careless. It was quite unlike her. What was she thinking, leaving the oatmeal out? She resolved to be more careful from here on. Talking about those early days with Jay brought back a flood of memories. The first time their lips had met, that electric feeling that ran through her. She had kissed before, but what she had experienced with him had been special. She remembered the time he had tried to take it to the next level, but she had refused, preferring to wait until they were married. And how could she forget her disappointment when she made love for the first time, on their honeymoon, only to discover what a lousy and selfish lover he was. To think she had saved her virginity for that. She couldn't help but think about Mohit, her neighbor and study partner back in India in her teenage years. Their platonic relationship had developed into something more when they had shared their first kiss during a homework session in her bedroom. Her mother walked in on them before they could take it any further. A severe tongue-lashing and a month of stern treatment from her mother made her resolve to be a decent Indian girl and not give in to boys until marriage. What a terrible decision in hindsight. Wearily, she plopped herself on the couch. She had spent most of the previous day talking to her and Jay's parents. Breaking the news to them had been hard. They were understandably devastated. What made it worse was the fact that, due to their health problems, neither set would be able to visit. Maya had slept after those long, draining conversations. She had woken later in the evening when Anjali had come over with a home-cooked meal. A steaming bowl of rice and lentils prepared with Indian spices. Simple food. Comfort food. Just like her mother would have made. Maya had wolfed it down, so thankful she had such a caring friend and neighbor. Her phone showed a lot of missed calls from her friends and coworkers. The news was spreading, but she hadn't the energy to call back. It could wait a few days. Interesting. Now, might Anjali have had anything to do with Jay? I really do not know. I guess we will have to find out as we read the story. Although, guys, we've got one chapter left to read. That's right, just one. So if this is piquing your interest, you're going to have to go out and pick up the book. It is available once again on books2read.com. The author, Vineet Verma. You'll have to stop out there and check it out. Again, if you have missed any of the reading tonight or the first chapter from Saturday, it is available. Tonight's readings will all be available on my YouTube channel later this evening. Chapter 1 is already available on YouTube. I don't see any questions or comments out there, so excuse me, let us just continue on with the final chapter that we'll be reading in Barefoot in the Parking Lot with Chapter 5, Mark Harrison. January 20. It was a rainy, windy Saturday night. Paul's mood matched the gloomy weather. I thought California had a great climate. Why did I bother moving? Oh, don't complain. It's not like it rains a lot around here. We need it. Besides, everything looks so pretty. It's beautiful, yes, but I prefer enjoying it from my couch, not driving all over the place. You sound like my old man, Mr. Grumpy. Paul laughed as he eased the car into one of the visitor parking spots in the swanky Los Gatos apartment complex. They were there to question Mark Harrison. He had said he would be home, since with the downpour he couldn't go golfing anyway. They ran over to the apartment to get out of the rain. It was a full minute before the door opened. Mark was in workout clothes, all sweaty. He was an imposing 6'2", and in great shape for his 48 years. However, his face made him look older. Angela got the feeling something was troubling him, and the broad smile could not hide it. She made the introductions. Please, come in. Sorry for the delay in getting to the door. I was burning off some calories on the treadmill. Helps work the stress off. A CEO's job is never easy. The place was clean and tidy, but minimally furnished. Some moving boxes were sitting in the corner, still unopened. You moving? Asked Paul. Oh, no. Those are from when I moved in last year, after the divorce. My ex is lording it over the mansion now, while I survive here temporarily. Someday I will get done unpacking. Soon as they sat down, Mark asked, So, what do you want to know? You knew Jay well? Yes, quite well. We worked together for a long time. Unfortunate business. Huge loss, he replied. On getting no reaction, he added, I really mean that. We hear you and he were close at one point. But there was a falling out? Asked Angela. Yes, it was awful what he did to me. He was one of the early employees at SmartCloud. I saw his potential and mentored him. He was crucial to our success. I liked him. Our families enjoyed hanging out together. But then he cheated me, stole our IP, and trotted off to start his own venture. But didn't the courts rule in his favor? That he didn't steal any IP? Intelligent systems developed their solution independently, and your accusations were just a way to distract and financially bleed his startup.
Utter nonsense. Most of the time, I don't think these legal folks know what they were talking about. Besides, Jay was a super smart guy. Maybe a little too smart. He figured out a way to work it in his favor. I hated his guts after that.
Enough to murder him?
What? Are you crazy? No. Why would I do that? Not worth it for me. I would rather kill in the marketplace.
Where were you that evening?
Ha! So you seriously think I did it?
Asked Mark, the color rising in his cheeks. Just answer the question. We know you threatened him.
In the heat of battle, yes. That doesn't mean I would actually do it. I mean, the guy was gloating all around about how I was a liar and he had beaten me. That cheating scumbag.
Angela stole a quick glance at Paul. She was sure he had noticed it too. Was it a coincidence that Mark had used the term scumbag to describe Jay? Had he written the threatening note? Coming back to my question, where were you that evening?
I was at work till around 6:30, and then I went over to Sha Sha Shawarma for dinner. I was there till around 8. Then I came home.
So you were in Sunnyvale downtown?
I know, so close to where he died.
Were you with anyone?
Nope, not a soul. I drove there alone, dined alone, and drove back alone. Alas, no alibi. My sad little single life.
How convenient, thought Angela. We checked your bio. It says you graduated from Purdue.
That is correct. Seems like a lifetime ago.
Do you own a Purdue lapel pin?
Yes, I do. It's a beautiful gold one I bought a while back.
Can I see it?
You a Boilermaker too?
Replied Mark, referring to the school mascot. No, but this is relevant to the investigation.
Oh, sure. Give me a minute.
5 minutes later he was back, minus a pin.
It's the damnedest thing. I can't find it. I swear I wore it a few days ago.
You lost it?
I don't know. Maybe.
Is it this one? Angela showed him the one they had found. It was in the evidence bag, so he took some time inspecting it.
I'll be damned. Yes, that looks like mine. Where did you find it?
Right next to Jay's body.
Oh, said Mark, his face reddening again. I see where you were going with this. But anyone could own one, and even if it is mine, I could have dropped it at any time. I am in the area quite often, given that I work close by.
You hated Jay. You threatened to kill him. You don't have an alibi, and we found your pin right next to his body. Looks fishy.
I didn't do anything. Why don't you believe me? I repeat, I did not have anything to do with his death.
Let's hope for your sake that you were telling the truth. But we will have to search your apartment.
You kidding me? Do you have a warrant?
No, we don't. But it shouldn't be difficult to get one.
Then go get it.
This will go a lot easier if you give us verbal assent. Saves everyone time and effort. Surely as a CEO you appreciate doing things efficiently. Angela could tell that her appeal had hit the spot. Mark soon confirmed it by agreeing to the search. To be on the safe side, Paul got the acknowledgement on video. The detectives didn't waste any more time and got to work. In the bathroom cabinet, Angela found a bottle of Prozac prescribed to Mark. So he was depressed. Was that the trouble he had read in his face? She continued the search, but an hour later they were done, with nothing to show for their efforts. They left the apartment, Mark's last words echoing in Angela's head.
I told you, I have nothing to hide.
Mark entered the kitchen once the detectives departed. He filled a glass to the brim with water and downed it with big gulps. It didn't help. He decided resistance was futile and reached for the bottle of Macallan. It had been a while since he had completed his workout, but he was sweating again. They suspected him. If they kept digging, what else would they discover? The thought worried him as he chugged on the bottle, trying to find some peace. All right, everyone. That is going to complete it for Barefoot in the Parking Lot. If you want to find out what happens next, you're going to have to go pick up the book. Once again, you can check out the book at bookstoread.com. The link is on both the YouTube and Rumble streams right now. And now we'll move on to the next reading by our humble author. And that is going to be dun dun dun. Shattered Lives. Get the book cover switched around for us, so hey, now we know where we are. Shattered Lives by Vineet Verma. We're going to do the prelude and the first 2 chapters. So I hope you guys are ready to enjoy a little bit of a different book. I don't know how different. I don't read these ahead of time because what fun would that be? I read them when I read them with you. That is the way, I like it, So, once again, all of these readings will be available on the YouTube channel after the stream tonight. If you happen to have missed any of it, I will be there. I will upload the videos, and you may enjoy them all. I hope you will. All right, let's get ourselves back. And we're going to start our new reading. Oh, let me take a little drink. And here we go with Shattered Lives by Vineet Verma. Prologue. Something horrendous is coming my way. I sense it the moment I awoke this morning. The same feeling I had the day Mom died. My chest feels heavy, and a piercing headache is gathering strength. I've tried to ignore the unease all day, but the sense of foreboding reaches a crescendo as I continued knocking on Andy's door. Where the hell is she? When I spoke to her yesterday, she'd assured me she would be home today. I called her once again, but no luck. A flurry of texts, no response. My breathing quickens. My stomach churns. I fear the worst. A final series of knocks. Nothing. I wait 10 seconds, my heart sinking further with every tick. Frantic, I fish out the key she gave me a while back after I insisted, only to be used in emergencies. I struggle to steady my trembling hands and fit the key in the slot, but once I do, it turns without a hitch and the door opens. I smell pizza. Fresh. I step inside and glance towards the kitchen. The box on the countertop confirms what my nose already told me. So she must be home, or must have been at some point to have ordered her favorite meal. Not something she would have done if she had planned on ending things. My disquiet eases a bit, but not entirely. It's eerily quiet with no one in sight. I want to call out to her, but my throat has gone dry and words refuse to emerge. I hustle around the apartment, desperately hoping to discover her alive and well. Perhaps I'd find her huddled in a corner, engrossed in a thriller novel, oblivious to the world around her. The kitchen, the bedroom, even the closets. She's nowhere to be found. Maybe that's a good sign. I try to convince myself, but it's a futile effort. There's only one place I haven't looked, so I hurry towards the bathroom. It's only a short distance from where I'm standing, but in my agitated state, it seems like I'm running a marathon. The door is open a crack, with a sliver of light streaming through. A strong lavender scent hits me, along with a hint of bleach, even before I enter. I push the door open wide. The first thing I see is the bathtub, filled to the brim with water. A step closer and I lay eyes on the naked, still body underneath the surface. My heart's hammering inside my chest now. I rush to her, hoping I'm not too late. No, no, no! I've finally found my voice. My hands shake as I make a clumsy effort to unplug the drain and pull her head out of the water. Water splashes out of the tub, spilling on my jeans and shoes. Glug, glug, glug. The water starts draining. She's not breathing. No pulse either. I'm panicking now, although I can't afford to. I take in a few deep breaths, trying to suppress the urge to throw up. Maybe I can still revive her. I try to drag her out, but she's heavy. Before I can make another attempt, I realize I should call 911 first. So I dial and put the phone on speaker, placing it on the sink. It's a struggle, but I manage to haul her out and lay her on the floor. My muscles burn with the effort. Sweat oozes out of my every pore. Down on my knees, I've just completed a round of CPR when someone answers. 911, what's your emergency? My sister, she's not breathing. The rest of the call is a blur as I answer the dispatcher's questions while trying to resuscitate her. I'm losing hope and my nerve. My little sis isn't responding. The dispatcher assures me they're sending help right away. She instructs me to continue with the CPR, so I keep going, knowing deep inside that it's a lost cause. But I can't afford to lose her. I must keep trying. I must not give up. A first-person book. Oh, how very interesting, they say. And it starts with... See, I thought it was going to be like his girlfriend or something like that, not his little sister. That was unexpected. Let's find out more, shall we? With 1. Daniel. She's cheating on me. I'm sure of it. Learning this brutal truth about my wife of 20 years is like a punch in the gut, a blow to the head, a kick in the groin, all at the same time. I'm hurting. The wound runs deep, as you would expect when your partner drives a knife through your heart and betrays you. This was supposed to be a joyous day, another celebration of my career as an author, but I feel no joy. Instead, I'm dead inside. It's ironic, because it's as if Heather and I have become a dysfunctional couple from one of my novels. I'm not one of those husbands who's always suspicious of his wife, wondering whether she's sleeping around behind my back. Until now, she had my complete trust. I never tried to snoop on her emails or her phone, never followed her around town or hired a PI to dig up dirt on her. It's just pure chance that I found out about the affair. On my way to an errand yesterday afternoon, something compelled me to deviate from the usual route and drive down First Street. It's a shabby part of town, even without any of the homeless encampments that dot other parts of San Jose. I tend to avoid it, preferring to travel through more pleasant parts of the city. Sleepy Time Motel is one of those dumpy establishments that line this section of the street, with an uncovered parking lot and rooms that open onto the lot. Stopped at a light adjacent to the motel, and with nothing better to do, I was surveying the property when Heather exited a room. I blinked thrice, convinced that my eyes were misleading me. But no, she was still there, as real as the sun blazing overhead. I couldn't fathom why she was at a motel, especially a flea bag like this one, considering that we can afford much better. Her tousled hair and furtive glances indicated she'd been a naughty girl. Thankfully, it didn't seem like she had spotted me. The sighting threw my insides into tumult, my mind flitting through all the men in our circle, trying to figure out who was the Brutus to my Caesar. Friends, acquaintances, other dads, but none of them seemed like candidates. It made me wonder, though, what kind of scoundrel would make the candidate list? Perhaps it was an old flame, someone I didn't know, a college sweetheart or a high school crush that she had reconnected with. My stomach churned at the thought. More questions followed. How long had this deception been going on? Was it a fling or something more serious? I envisioned worst-case scenarios. What if she wanted a divorce? My heart ached for my children. Jonas might withstand the tsunami, but Joyce? That sensitive soul? At 15? She's smack in the middle of her turbulent teenage years. She might buckle under. I continued down the rat hole of misery, finally ending at the most important question. Why? Why was she doing this? My mind came up blank. I was so agitated that I couldn't sleep last night, tossing and turning, debating whether I was a wimp for not confronting Heather, for striving to avoid conflict. She, on the other hand, slept like a baby, like she does every night. Had she lost her conscience? But I'm a professional, and as much as I want to scamper home, down a bottle of Macallan, and draw the curtains and curl up in bed, I suppress my emotions for now. I'm in my car, in the Plentiful Books parking lot. The book signing begins at 1 p.m. There's still plenty of time. We've now veered in a whole different direction with a new person. Very interesting. And so we have some people who are cheating on others. Oh, he's not good for people, no. He's not okay. But what will we do? What will we do for a Klondike bar? We'll move on into 2. Daniel. Her Darkest Fears is my 12th book, and like all my novels that preceded it, all thrillers, it's a thumping success. That level of success means I'm invited for signings at bookstores around the country. Today is one such event. Though I've done this many times over the course of my career, until today I've been excited every single time. I don't take my achievements for granted, appreciating the fact that my fans adore me and are eager to meet me in person. And Plentiful Books holds a special place in my heart. It's where I had my first signing 21 years ago, for my debut novel, Righteous Kill. Bookstores are reader heaven, and cozy indie bookstores like Plentiful Books are top-tier heaven, if such a thing exists. Stopping as soon as I enter the store, I gawk at the books on display. I'd like nothing better than to stroll around, browse the shelves, and inhale the aroma of fresh, unread books as I try to escape my woes. But I have work to do. As always, I'm a bit nervous. The key difference between my first book signing and this one is that I'm a lot more confident now, which is not surprising given my accomplishments since then. I lift my gaze from the books to take in the rest of the store. It's packed. It's a lovely sight, and the owner, Brandon, looks excited, but it fails to energize me, given the concerns weighing on my mind. He welcomes me inside enthusiastically. Soon he's introducing me to the audience, and the applause comforts me. I muster a smile and a few words of gratitude before getting down to business. I breeze through my reading on autopilot and plant myself at the table as the readers line up eagerly, copies of Her Darkest Fears in hand. I get through them one by one, signing the books while making small talk. There are paperbacks and hardcovers, and I reserve my wildest smiles for the ones who purchase the hardcovers, because I have a soft spot for the hardbacks, dust jacket and all. The enthusiasm from my fans and the conversations with them help me settle into a rhythm. An older man, probably around the age my father would have been if he were alive today, tells me how he has read every one of my novels cover to cover, and he's looking forward to devouring this one tonight. A young woman tells me her husband's a huge fan, but he couldn't make it since he had to work. She's going to surprise him with a copy. Lucky guy. How about you? Have you read any of my work? I ask. She shrugs, looking a bit embarrassed. Sorry, I don't read. Then she cracks a grin. But I'd watch the Netflix series if they ever make one. I chuckle and sign the book before handing it back to her. Yeah, I'd be thrilled if someone produced a movie or show based on one of my books. She mouths a thank you as she leaves. As she departs, I spot a woman farther down the queue, dark hair falling to her shoulders, enticing eyes, and a body that's slender with curves in all the right places. In short, a stunner. I have a hard time getting through the next few readers because my heart's thumping and I can't wait for the woman to approach. My mind wanders, imagining what it would be like to hold her in my arms, to place my lips on hers, and it lifts my spirits. It's wrong, I know, but these are just thoughts. Not that I wouldn't be justified in acting on them, considering the mischief Heather's been up to. Speaking of Heather, I wonder what she's doing right now. Is she in bed with her lover again? There was a time when she would accompany me to signings. Even the children came along when they were younger, but they got busy with their own lives once they hit their teens. Heather dropped out around the same time they did. Now it's only me and my sad self. Suddenly, I feel alone. But I shouldn't feel sorry for myself, because the beauty's beaming as she steps up to my table and places her copy before me. A hardcover. She's gushing, telling me how much she admires my work and how blessed she considers herself to have this opportunity to meet me in person. Up close, there's something familiar about her face and her mannerisms, the way she talks, but I'm sure I've never met her. Who do I make this out to? I ask, as my most charming smile spreads across my face. Penelope, she replies. Penelope Hayek. That's a beautiful name. Thank you. She blushes, and my heart beats a wee bit faster. Dear Penelope, it's a pleasure to meet you, I write, before signing it. As I raise my gaze to hand the book back to her, she bends, just enough to give me a generous view of her cleavage. Something stirs inside me. I wish you could sign me sometime, she whispers with a wink. I'm sure I landed only a subtle glance at her chest, but she must have caught me gawking. I sense myself turning red, partly because I'm embarrassed, but also partly because I'm flattered that she's interested. It's an unexpected proposition, and I relish the thought, almost replying with a flirtatious remark of my own. But I restrain myself at the last moment. You live close by, Penelope? I try to sound casual. I'm only 5 minutes from here, and you can call me Pen. Now that's convenient. Temptation mounts, but a voice inside cautions me to resist. See you around, Pen, I say as I place a book in her hands and glance behind her to the next person in the queue. She stays put for an instant, and her face tells me she wasn't expecting this brush-off. But she eventually gets the hint and walks away. I content myself with a glimpse of her swaying hips and images of what might have been before turning my attention to the next fan. It's ironic how I meet attractive women at signings. Women who tempt me to cheat on Heather, considering that's how I met her. It was at this same store and my first ever signing. Plentiful Books had been gracious enough to invite me, a struggling, unknown author pushing his first novel. But that's the beauty of indie bookstores. At the time I was published by a small press, having taken that route after rejections from dozens of agents. This was before self-publishing became a thing and opened the floodgates for authors to make their dreams come true. Only 5 people showed up at the event. Heather was one of them. I was sinking into depression until she arrived and lit up the place. She flashed me a reassuring smile, as if she could sense what I was going through. Her presence gave me the strength to get through the reading. I guess I did well enough, because some of the other customers in the store stopped to listen and to me speak. Heather was first in line when I moved on to the signing. With her blonde hair and blue eyes, she wasn't my type, but there was something arresting about her, a quality that made me want to spend time with her. But I couldn't muster the courage to ask for her number. I sold a total of 10 copies that day. It didn't make much of an impact on the tepid sales figures, but Brandon assured me he loved the book and he would continue to promote it. It was nice of him to say that, but it didn't help improve my mood. What did help was seeing Heather waiting for me by the door as I packed up my things and exited the store. "I hope you don't think I'm stalking you," she said, waving my book in her hand. "But this is great." "You already started reading it?" "Yeah. At first I thought I'd just read the first page, but it sucked me right in. I'm on page 100. "Wow, you're a fast reader." "That I am." She directed a stray strand of hair away from her face and behind her ear. Any any plans for the evening?" I surprised myself by asking, unsure about my next move. "Other than finishing this? No." "Join me for coffee?" I blurted it out before I could chicken out. "Sure," she replied, the dimples in her cheeks making me go weak in the knees. I tumbled into love with her over cappuccinos and slices of banana bread. We talked and talked and talked, sharing our backgrounds, our interests, our dislikes. She told me she was an avid supporter of indie stores and had just come to browse when she saw the sign for my event. Having never attended a live author event, she decided to give it a shot. Lucky me. Based on those first 100 pages, she predicted that Righteous Kill would be a bestseller. I didn't believe her, at the time, modestly waving away the heaps of praise she laid on me. But there was a truth to what she said, because sales picked up soon after, thanks to word of mouth. By the time we married a year later, I was a moderately successful author on his way to releasing his second novel. By the third one, I had better agents and publishers reaching out to me. Career-wise, there was no looking back after that. Daniel Giraldi, best-selling author. That's what they started calling me, causing my chest to swell with pride. To this day, I'm convinced Heather's my lucky charm, and I owe my success to her presence by my side. The next fan pulls me back to the present, and I continue with the small talk and signing books. It's another hour before the queue dries up and I get to wrap up. A successful day by any measure. I should be delighted. But this event was just a distraction, and now that it's over, all I can think about is Heather and her lover in that motel room. All right, guys. That gets us through Shattered Lives, which means we have one story left to tell this evening. Well, a book of short stories that we'll start into. So let's get ourselves rolling along as we'll move into Devious Minds. That's right, Devious Minds. There we go. All right. Time for us to continue. Let me get the book opened up here. Devious Minds. Short stories packed with suspense by Vineet Verma. These stories are works of fiction. All the characters and events portrayed are fictitious. Similarities to real people, places, or events are coincidental. Of course, as always. And we're going to start with this one. The Stick, a Detective Conley mystery. When Samantha awoke, the first sensations of consciousness were unpleasant. Her mouth was dry and her head was pounding. She opened her eyes for a split second, only to shut them tight again. The light aggravated the headache. She tried to pierce through the fog in her brain and recall the events of the previous night. There was a memory of meeting Cindy at Harry's, a bar they loved to frequent. Had she had too much to drink? Yes, that's what this felt like. 28 years old and still repeating the same mistakes. She realized she was naked. It could only mean one thing, and it added to her confusion. She opened her eyes again, working through the ache to keep them open this time. Her clothes were on the floor. She faintly remembered entering the apartment with someone. Kisses in the dark, undressing, the warm embrace of a tall, ripped body. Ecstasy. Not wanting to change position and make the headache worse, she moved her left hand behind her to search the other side of the bed. It made contact with skin, and further probing confirmed it was a muscular arm. So, it was not a dream. But something felt off. Her curiosity got the better of her, and she turned over to face her mystery lover. The scream was piercing and lasted a few seconds, ending when she fell off the bed in shock. There lay a naked body, face up. There was an addition, one that explained the reaction and why the arm felt so cold. A knife blade was sticking out of his chest. She slid back to the wall, sobbing, and sat there for a while with her knees drawn in. Once she had calmed down, she mustered enough courage to walk over to the bed. She did not recognize the face. Or did she? What were they doing together? If only she could remember. Cindy was her best bet. Samantha called her best friend and co-worker. 10 minutes later, the call ended. Things were a lot clearer now, though there were still some blank spots. But she knew what she had to do next. Homicide Detective Paul Conley stepped out of his car and took a moment to scan the swanky apartment buildings in Old Town. It was his second day back at work with Wichita PD after a brief stint in California. Any hopes of easing into the job had been dashed, for here he was, investigating a murder, bright and early. The call had come in as he was seating himself for breakfast with Brigitte. The aroma of the bacon and eggs that he had been deprived of still lingered in his nose. His stomach growled in protest. As he approached the crime scene, he noted the impeccable job the patrol officers had done. They had taped off not only the second-floor apartment, but also the path leading up to it. The familiar face of Officer Davis greeted him at the boundary. Paul signed in and ascended the staircase. The door to the apartment was open, with the techs dusting for prints. He stopped to examine the door without touching it. No signs of forced entry. He entered, and the first thing he noticed was a sobbing woman seated on the couch. Long blonde hair, attractive face, the beauty marred by the puffy eyes and pained expression. She had on a plain white shirt and blue jeans. Next to her sat a uniformed officer he had never seen before. Must be a rookie, he thought. He nodded to her and moved to the bedroom, where the body presented itself. This would have taken a lot of force, he mused, as he studied the knife inserted cleanly into the hefty torso. "Morning, Paul," drawled Natalie from Forensics. "Didn't know you were back."
Wouldn't miss this for anything.
He smiled back.
What do we have so far?
Instant death. Whoever did this knew what they were doing. Clean entrance straight into the heart. No blood. Sometime between 4 a.m. and 6 a.m. We have prints on the knife. Checking for more from other parts of the apartment, but not sure if that will lead anywhere.
Yeah, it could be anybody who has been in here recently.
Paul returned to the living room and introduced himself to the officer and the witness.
How are you doing, Samantha?
Okay, I guess, she replied with a sniffle.
Can you tell me what happened?
I don't know. I woke up and there he was. All dead.
You were with him in bed all night?
I guess so.
You're not sure?
No, I was totally wasted. Don't remember much.
So, you don't have any idea who did this, and when?
No.
I noticed your clothes on the floor by your side of the bed. Was that what you were wearing last night?
Yes.
And the clothes you have on now, where did you get those?
Samantha gave him a confused look. From my closet?
Did you touch anything else?
No. I called 911 as soon as I saw the body, and then I put these on and waited.
That's good. Wouldn't want to disturb a crime scene.
And what time was it you discovered it?
Oh, I don't remember. Around 8, I guess, when I woke up.
Sounds about right. Dispatch received your call at 8:07 a.m. What's his name? Paul asked, indicating the bedroom.
Alex. Alexander Khrushchev.
And you knew him well?
No. Yesterday was the first time we met.
I see. And where was this?
At Harry's bar.
Ah, Harry's. Love it. They make a mean martini. Now, tell me everything. What happened there? How the two of you got here?
I was meeting my friend Cindy for drinks there. We were gossiping away when he walked over and started flirting with me. He was fun and so gorgeous. We hit it off right away. I don't recall much after that. Never knew when to stop drinking.
So, you don't remember coming home with him?
Just very faint images. I do recall entering with him. I fumbled with the keys outside.
I see. And did you find anything strange about the apartment?
Strange? Like what? I told you, I don't recall much until I woke up this morning.
Do you remember how you got from Harry's? It seems you weren't in any condition to drive.
In his car. I didn't take mine since I knew I would be drinking.
I see. So his car should still be here?
I guess. It should be in a visitor spot.
Can you describe the car?
Red. It was red. A Honda, I think. Yes, definitely a Honda. Civic.
We'll look for it. I assume you don't know what time you got back?
No.
Do you recall getting intimate with him?
Kinda.
Samantha's cheeks went pink as she replied.
I don't usually do this kind of thing.
Do you recognize the knife?
You mean, is it mine? No, never seen it before.
All right. We will have to keep this place sealed as a crime scene. You have someplace you can crash until then?
Oh, I can't stay here?
Nope.
How long will you be here?
As long as it takes. But typically, for a case like this, I would estimate not more than a couple of days.
I can go over to Cindy's. I just need to grab a few things first.
Sorry, can't let you go in there or touch anything.
But...
She stopped on seeing Paul's unmoving face. Leave us your contact number and Cindy's address. The officer noted the details. Samantha made a quick call to Cindy to notify her, and then she was off. Paul donned his gloves and stepped back into the bedroom. He started with the walk-in closet, chock full of clothes and shoes. Expensive stuff. He couldn't resist a smile. Brigitte would have loved this collection. He exited the closet and scanned the room again. Alex's discarded clothes lay on the floor. A dress shirt, blue jeans, briefs, and a leather bomber jacket. Brown Timberland boots under the bed. Paul picked up each item to confirm there was nothing else in there. He searched the pockets. No phone, no wallet. A key. Probably to his home. But no car key. Paul frowned. No way to verify the victim's identity or where he lived. Only the name Samantha had given him. He stepped out of the apartment to canvass the neighbors. There were 10 units on each floor. 40 minutes later, he had interviewed 8 of the neighbors on the second floor. No one had seen or heard anything. One neighbor did not answer. He would get back to that one later. 3 apartments in on the first floor, and still no luck. He knocked on the door of the one directly below Samantha's. It opened a crack to reveal a woman's questioning face. In her 50s, estimated Paul. He introduced himself and held up his badge.
I'm Diane,
she replied as she let him in. Once settled on the couch, he explained why he was there.
So, that's what all the commotion's about, she said. Never seen cops around here. It's a safe neighborhood. At least, it used to be.
She paused for a few moments, then continued.
Last night, you say?
Yes. So it was her then.
What do you mean?
Well, I went to bed early last night, around 9. It was one of those exhausting days. Around 2 a.m., I woke up to some noise outside. It sounded like a man and a woman talking, and she was tittering away every few seconds. Drunk, I'm sure.
Did you see who it was?
No, I stayed in bed. It was bad enough to be forced awake like that. I didn't have the motivation to get up.
What happened next?
I tried to get back to sleep, but they just wouldn't let me. I heard them go up the stairs, could hear her heels go clickety-clack. Then they took forever to open the door, and they slammed it shut.
That's interesting. None of the neighbors reported hearing anything.
You think I'm lying?
Diane narrowed her sparkling blue eyes as she said it. Sorry, that's not what I meant.
No worries. I'm a light sleeper. Anyway, thank goodness they're inside, I thought to myself. Now I might be able to sleep. But no, they just had to get some action, if you know what I mean.
You could hear them?
Oh, yes. The thing is, the walls between these apartments are well insulated. Can't hear much of what's going on with your next-door neighbor, but between floors, not as good.
How long did this continue?
Not long, thankfully. I fell asleep after that.
And what time was this?
I didn't check. Couldn't have been later than 3, I guess.
Anything after that?
I saw her this morning.
You went to her apartment?
No, I was looking out the window and I saw her.
What time was that? Asked Paul, trying to contain his excitement.
Around 7:30. First she dumped a garbage bag in the community trash bin. Then she came out again with a black duffel bag and a laptop and put those in her car.
And you're sure about this?
Diane's eyes narrowed again. Paul threw in a question before she could protest the implied skepticism.
What color was the garbage bag?
Black, and it looked quite empty.
I see. Did you see her again?
No.
And how did she seem?
Nervous, like she was in a hurry.
How well do you know Samantha?
Not that well, actually. Other than some polite neighborly conversations. If my memory serves me right, she only moved in here a few months ago. Seems like a nice girl.
Have you ever seen her with anyone? Any visitors?
No male visitors, if that's what you mean. She told me she was single. There's this woman who was here with her a couple of times. Probably a friend.
Cindy, thought Paul. Well, thank you, Diane. You have been most helpful. Do call me if you remember anything else, he said as he rose to leave and handed her his card.
Once outside, he wrapped up the remaining interviews. There was one neighbor who confirmed Diane's story about the late-night disturbance, but beside that, there was no new information. It was time to move on to the task he had been dreading. Paul stood before the community dumpster, staring at it as if that would get the stench to back down. The painful memories of a previous dumpster dive were still fresh in his mind. He couldn't stand another ruined suit. Resigned, he hoisted himself up the wall of the bin and scanned the contents. To his relief, the few black bags in there stood out in a sea of white ones, and the black ones were bursting at the seams. Except for one. That would make his work easy. He carefully landed in the bin, grabbed his evidence, and escaped before there was any damage done. He emptied the bag onto the ground. A wallet and a cell phone. Again, no car key. The wallet contained a $20 bill, a driver's license, and a credit card. Alexander Dmitriev Khrushchev was the name on the card and the license. The phone was locked and would need some work. He roamed the apartment complex parking lot, on the lookout for a red Civic. But there wasn't one. Had Samantha lied about this, too? Paul spent the afternoon at his desk, writing up the case reports. He entered Harry's bar just after 6 p.m., ensuring he was there before it got too crowded. Of the 10 tables, only one was occupied. A man sat at the bar nursing his whiskey. Behind the bar stood the owner, Harry Belichick, breaking into a smile on seeing his regular walk in. Paul smiled back and walked up to him.
The usual, Paul?
Man, I sure could use a martini. But this is a professional visit.
Oh? What's wrong?
He asked, looking concerned. I have some questions about last night. New case I'm working on.
Ask away. Anything I can do to help?
Paul held up his phone so Harry could see the picture. Was she in here yesterday?
Sam? When isn't she in here?
He replied with an amused expression, before the concerned look returned.
Is she in some kind of trouble?
Perhaps. Sorry, I can't tell you much. So she was here last evening?
Yes, sat there.
Harry pointed to the table in the corner. Who was she with?
Her friend Cindy, another regular.
No one else?
A man joined them after a while.
What did he look like?
Tall, Caucasian, well-built.
Ever seen him before?
Nope.
How did they seem?
Can't say. Wasn't watching them or anything. It was a busy night.
What time did they leave?
Not sure, but Sam and the guy left first. She looked quite drunk. Cindy stayed until closing.
And she was alone after they left?
Yes, I did see her make a couple of calls, but that's about it.
I see.
Speaking of Cindy...
Harry's gaze moved past Paul. Paul turned around to see a woman standing by the corner table, taking off her coat. She was about the same height as Samantha and just as attractive. That her? Harry nodded. Thanks, Harry. I have some questions for her.
Sure. Say hi to Brigitte.
Will do. And I'll be back soon for that martini.
Welcome any time, my friend.
Paul walked up to the table, introduced himself, and settled into the chair across from Cindy. The hazel eyes didn't hide the fact that this intrusion was not welcome. Expecting someone? He asked. No. Sam didn't want to come, so it's just me. She's still recovering from the shock. She's all alone at home? You judging me? Think I'm some cold-hearted bitch who is out to have a good time while her friend wallows in misery? That's not what I... Just so you know, I called in sick at work as soon as Sam called me this morning. Took care of her all day today. The only reason I stepped out is because she said she needed some space. Needed to be alone. Capiche? That's not what I was implying, but I get it. Now, I have some questions about last night. Sure, go ahead. I assume Samantha told you everything? Yes, of course. Poor thing. Had you ever met Alex before? No. Yesterday was the first time I knew he existed. For Samantha, too? First time for her as well. Seemed like a decent guy, though I did warn her to call it a night. Warn her? Why? I don't think taking a random stranger home is a good idea. For all you know, he could be a serial killer, or a rapist, or worse. Besides, she was drunk. What time did they leave? I think it was around 1 a.m. And you stayed back? Yes. Unlike Sam, I paced myself with the alcohol. I figured I could handle one more drink. Do you think she did it? What, the murder? Samantha couldn't hurt a fly, Cindy replied. Then again, one never knows these days. One minute someone's living a normal life, next minute they're shooting up people at the mall. Crazy times we live in. But you're close friends. Surely you knew her very well. We're close, yes, and we do spend a lot of time together. At work, after work. But can you really be sure you know someone's deepest, darkest secrets? I guess not. For an instant, Paul considered asking her about Samantha's laptop and duffel bag, but decided against it. It would be better to confront Samantha directly. Anyway, that's all the questions I have for you. I do appreciate you talking to me. Call me if you remember anything else. He stood up, waved goodbye to Harry, and exited the building. The next morning, after a hearty breakfast, Paul drove over to the Oak View address on Alex's license. It was a run-down building. Alex rented a studio there. Paul used the key and entered. A whiff of pepperoni hit him, and his thoughts drifted to lunch for a few moments before returning to the scene before him. The apartment was empty except for a twin mattress on the carpeted floor. It had a navy blue fitted sheet on it. A matching comforter lay in a heap at the foot of the mattress. He scanned the small closet to the side. A couple of shirts, a pair of jeans, some socks, and underwear. He walked over to the kitchen and inspected the cabinets. 2 unopened bottles of Smirnoff. A glass. Nothing else. In the sink were 2 dirty plates, 2 dirty spoons, and a glass. An empty pizza box lay next to the sink. He opened the fridge. Half a loaf of white bread and a half-full gallon jug of whole milk. Paul moved on to the bathroom. Only the basic necessities. He stepped out. This time he noticed a black adapter and cable plugged into an outlet. So, Alex had a laptop. Where was it? He checked under the mattress, but there was nothing there. Disappointed, he left the studio. Paul sat across from Lieutenant Matt Ziegler, filling him in on the case progress. It had been 2 days since the murder. They had been partners at one time, before Matt moved up the career ladder. He watched as Matt stuffed his face with one more chocolate donut. That was once Paul's specialty, until he had wised up and drilled himself back into shape. Yet, he felt a hint of temptation building up inside him. "Thanks, but no donuts for me," he replied as Ziegler offered him one. "That stuff will kill you." "Donuts? Funny, I get it. Must be stupid eating this stuff." "You know what, bud? You only get one life. And what's life without this sweet goodness? Anyway, more for me. Now, what do you got on this case?" The autopsy confirmed the time of death and cause of death. Now this woman, Samantha, she's little. I don't think she could have done it. Wouldn't have the physical strength. Plus, she was blind drunk. I verified it with folks at the bar. But the fingerprint analysis came back today. She was all over the knife. So she's our man, or woman. Perhaps. I also know she lied. How so? She told me she woke up around 8 a.m., saw him dead, and called 911, all within minutes. But one of the neighbors I interviewed was positive she saw her up and about at 7:30. Oh! Paul told him about the trash bag. Jackpot! Matt said as he slammed his hand on the desk. She killed him! Why else would she need to dump his stuff? That's what I thought, too. But why bother giving me his name? It was a one-night stand, after all. She could have claimed she didn't get his name. Playing it smart, leaving out too much, and it rouses suspicion. But if she cooperates a little, well, it's like she's on our side. Now, the car bit is interesting. You didn't find the key or the car. Did she just make it up? That was my first thought, too. But the DMV confirmed Alex has a red Civic registered. So either the killer stole it, or Samantha is lying about coming home in it. My bet is she's the killer. She got rid of his car, just like she tried to dump his wallet and card. We need to find it. We widened our search for it. Didn't find much at his apartment either. Paul related what he had discovered at the studio. Interesting. And his laptop was not at Samantha's? No. Run a search on him? I did. He's been in the country 2 years now, and he lived alone. As far as I can tell, he has no family here. He came in on a student visa to study industrial engineering at Wichita State, but something's fishy there. He didn't attend any classes, though he is still enrolled. Interesting. Matt furrowed his brows to project a pensive look. And the phone? It's under analysis. There's more going on here than a simple one-night stand gone wrong. My guess is that these two had a history. I need search warrants for Samantha's car and Cindy's apartment. Get an arrest warrant as well. We have a sufficient probable cause. Our case will be stronger if I can establish without doubt that Samantha and Alex already knew each other. I should be able to verify that with their phone records. What about other prints in the apartment? We found a couple. Still working on those. All this could take time. Let's make the arrest. The search and phone records can happen in parallel. Sure, I'll get cracking on the warrants, Paul replied as he stood up to leave. And Paul? What? I had to jump through a lot of hoops to get you back in homicide. Don't let me down. You know you can count on me. Once out of earshot, he muttered to himself, No pressure, Paul. No pressure. Cindy awoke to the sound of the coffee machine, surprised that Samantha was up before her. Perhaps Sam was finally feeling better. She got out of bed and walked over to the kitchen. Samantha gave a start on seeing Cindy and dropped the canister lid she was holding. Jesus, Cindy, you scared me. I didn't hear you coming. Sorry, dear. I guess that means I still got that stealthy cat-like walk, Cindy replied with a smile. You're up early. Samantha picked up the lid and placed it back on the canister. Yes, I figured I should get back to work, she said as she handed a coffee mug to her friend. I have a lot to catch up on. Ha! I was hoping you made some for me, too. Cindy took a sip. You sure you're ready? It's only been 3 days. I'm sure they wouldn't mind giving you a few more days off considering what you've been through. I think I'm ready. Besides, I need to work to get my mind off what happened. You know how I get when I have nothing to do. Yes. And what about the problem we were discussing last night? You sure you don't need my help? You'll be in big trouble if the cops find out. Don't worry about it. I have it under control. All right. Go on, then. I'll see you at the office. Samantha stepped out of the apartment and breathed in the fresh morning air, glad to be getting back to her regular routine. She walked down the street and turned into the alley leading to her parked Porsche. A burly man approached in the distance. He seemed vaguely familiar, but she couldn't place him. Her polite smile morphed into wide-eyed horror as he grabbed her shoulders instead of walking past.
Where is it?
What? She replied, trembling in fear.
The stick. Where is it?
Her heart sank as she realized what he wanted, and instantly she recalled where she had seen him before. So it hadn't been a dream. Her knees buckled with the memory of the knife in her hand. He pushed her against the wall, his face close enough that she could feel the warmth of his breath.
Where is it? In your bag?
Samantha! A voice rang out as the man reached for her laptop case. They turned to see who had spoken. Relief surged through her body. The man cursed and made one last attempt to wrest the bag from her before he admitted defeat and escaped. Even in that fearful state, she had maintained her iron grip. Back at Cindy's, Samantha calmed her nerves with a steaming mug of cocoa. Paul sat across from her, eagerly waiting for answers. Her friend looked on anxiously. What happened back there? Who was that guy? He began once he concluded Samantha was stable. He was trying to rob me. Thankfully you arrived in time, or he would have made off with my laptop. So, you don't know him? No, never seen him before. She took another sip. Paul wished he had some cocoa, too. This laptop. Is this the one you moved to your car before calling 911? Samantha's face froze, but her hands trembled just enough that the cocoa would have spilled if she hadn't steadied the mug in time. I don't know what you mean. I told you before, I made the call immediately. Didn't go anywhere until the cops arrived. Then how come the laptop was in the car? I left it there the previous night. I see. What about the duffel bag? Did you leave that in the car, too? Cindy shifted uneasily. Samantha tightened her grip on the mug, her fingers turning white. What bag? I don't know what you're talking about. It's the one you put in the car along with the laptop, after you dumped the trash. This time her mouth opened in shock, but no words came out. I know about his phone and wallet. Oh. Paul could see this revelation had hit home. Time to turn on the pressure. I have a warrant for your arrest. For Alex's murder. You would have been in jail by now if not for the incident this morning. So, if you want to make your case, this is your chance.
I didn't do it. Please believe me.
For the first time, there was a hint of desperation in her voice. What's in the bag?
I, I...
I find it hard to trust you about the murder if you can't give me straight answers for the two questions.
Cash. 200,000 in cash. Oh, Sam,
Cindy cut in, concern written all over her face. Paul turned back to Samantha. That's a lot of money. Where did you get it?
He gave it to me.
Who? Alex?
Yes,
What for?
for information.
What information? Paul tried to keep his excitement in check. His heart would leap out of his chest at any moment, he thought. It made sense now. The expensive clothes and accessories. The Porsche. This is how she could afford it.
I work for Lumio D. We handle defense contracts. Alex was a Russian agent. For the past year, I had been sharing confidential information with him for money.
So he was right. They did know each other before that night. But this espionage angle was unexpected. You got your money. Why kill him? He asked in a casual tone. Perhaps she would slip up.
I didn't kill him.
Then who did? You were the only one there when he died.
I don't know,
She replied as she broke into tears. Did you give Alex the information that night?
No, I was going to give it to him before he left in the morning.
Is it on the laptop?
No, on a USB stick.
And where is the stick now?
Oh,
Samantha's eyes widened as if a thought had struck her.
I remember where I saw him.
Saw who?
The man who attacked me today.
Ah, so you remember him now. I thought you said you had never seen him before.
I know, but it just came to me. You know how foggy my memory was that night?
Very conveniently foggy. Anyway, go on.
He wanted the stick. I saw him that night.
Saw him where?
In my bedroom. He must have killed Alex.
Then why were your prints on the knife?
Oh, I...
And how did he get in?
He must have broken in.
No signs of a break-in anywhere.
Oh, I must have forgotten to lock the door. I was wasted, remember?
Perhaps. Where's the stick now?
He took it.
What else did he want from you?
Nothing.
Then why was he trying to snatch your laptop?
I don't know.
Don't know or don't want to tell?
I really don't know. It's my work laptop. Maybe he thought he could get some more data off of it.
I see. How often did you meet Alex?
This was the first time.
But you said...
We did dead drops before. We would decide on a location via text. I would place a stick there and pick up the money he had left for me. It was strictly professional in the beginning. But around a month ago, the text started getting personal. We just had to meet. So we figured we could combine business with pleasure. I didn't know what he looked like until Harry's.
A fresh tear flowed down her face. She wiped it and glanced up at Paul. He stared back, processing what he had heard. To believe her or not to believe, that was the question.
He was so sweet. There's no way I would kill him,
she added for good measure. There's a lot of money involved here. How do I know you really cared for him? Perhaps you lured him to your apartment so he would let down his guard. Then you stabbed him. You get to keep the dough and the information.
Not true. And what about the man from this morning?
Yeah, what about him? Was his motive for killing Alex? He didn't take the stick. He didn't take the cash. You're making it all up.
No, I'm not. He didn't take the stick that night because he couldn't find it. I know he searched for it. The place was a mess.
Didn't look messy to me.
Because I cleaned up before I placing the call. I didn't want anyone to suspect he was looking for something. At first I panicked when I saw Alex dead, but then I realized I could get into trouble. I moved the money, the stick, and the laptop to the car. I stashed his phone and wallet to make it harder to trace him and find any prior connection to me.
And yet you gave me his real name.
It would be too suspicious if I gave you nothing.
It's still suspicious. The fact is, your prints are on the murder weapon.
Look at me. Do you seriously think I could push a knife through Alex's body like that? Besides, do I look so stupid that I wouldn't wipe the prints?
No, and no. But all the evidence points in your direction. So tell me, what time did you really wake up that morning?
I don't know. It was probably around 7.
Much better. Now, you said you drove home in Alex's red Civic.
Right. That's what I remember.
And that it should have been in a visitor parking spot.
Right. What are you getting at?
We didn't find a red Civic anywhere.
Oh.
The confusion on her face seemed genuine. Could fool anyone, thought Paul. She continued.
Then the killer must have taken it.
And why would he, or she, do that?
I don't know. How else could it disappear?
I hope to find out soon. Now, here's what we're going to do. I'm going to take you down to the station. I have a couple of officers waiting outside. They'll come in and search this apartment and your car.
Search the apartment? Do you have a warrant?
Asked Cindy, alarmed. Yes, I do. And you'll have to step out while they're here. He called his officers, briefing them once they arrived. The women protested as he arrested Samantha. A few minutes later, they departed, Paul and Samantha to the station, and Cindy going no one knew where, as she grumbled about police heavy-handedness. Cindy laced up and stepped out of her apartment at 6:30 a.m., eager to squeeze a quick run into her busy schedule. She jogged a few laps through the charming streets of Old Town before entering Hyde Park. It was still early, and the usual bustling children's playground in the center of the park was deserted. There were a handful of runners like her out and about. She collapsed onto one of the benches, sweat streaming down her face. A young couple strolled by, hand in hand. Following close behind them was a hefty man. Without saying anything, he settled beside her. She casually fished out a USB stick from her pocket and placed it between them. Just as casually, he pocketed it. After a minute, he glanced at his watch and walked away. Another minute later, Cindy was relaxing against the back of the bench when a suit filled up the vacant spot next to her. "Hello, Cindy," he said. The voice was familiar, and she didn't need to see the face to know who it was. In an instant, she felt a sinking feeling in the pit of her stomach. She looked past him down the path and saw the first man being handcuffed. "How did you get it, Cindy? I know Samantha didn't tell you."
I knew it had to be in the apartment, so I searched everywhere after you took Sam away. Took me all day to find it.
"Where was it?"
At the bottom of the sugar canister.
"How on earth did you think of looking there?"
In all the years I've known Sam, I've never seen her use sugar. She considers it unhealthy. But when I walked into the kitchen that morning, the morning she was arrested, she was closing the canister. She gave a start when she saw me. I didn't think much of it at the time, but it got me thinking once I'd exhausted all my options.
"Funny business," Paul chuckled.
What's so funny about it?
"She didn't want us to search for the stick, so she told me Kurt had it. She thought she was safe with you. But when you started asking her about it, she got worried. She told me, so you wouldn't get your hands on it."
Wonder what aroused her suspicion. It's not like I didn't know what she had been up to. We discuss this stuff all the time.
But never in so much detail. Never the specifics. That's where you messed up.
If you knew where it was, why didn't you just come and get it yourself? I needn't have gone to all this trouble.
We needed to know how much you actually knew, and how deeply you were involved in this. This way we caught you in the act. With him. Besides, she didn't tell us exactly where it was hidden, just that we needed to watch out for you.
Cindy sighed, her shoulders drooping. Paul read her the Miranda warning before cuffing her. It was all over. Paul stepped in the front door to find Brigitte looking stunning in a red cocktail dress. He feasted his eyes as he went up to her and kissed her on the lips. As he held his wife tight, he counted his blessings. Life was awesome with her back in it. "Are we going somewhere?" he asked once he got his breath back. "Maybe, but we begin by celebrating with a home-cooked dinner. You just wrapped up your first case after getting back."
"It's no big deal."
"Well, I think it is. Remember how we celebrated your first one in homicide?"
"Oh, yeah. I can't forget that one. We went crazy, didn't we?"
"We sure did," she replied as she kissed him again. An hour later they lay on the floor, glowing with satisfaction. Brigitte's head rested on his chest. "So, it wasn't Samantha?" she asked, curious about the remaining details of the case she had been hearing about all week.
"No, she was telling the truth about the murder after all. Though she'll get into plenty of trouble for espionage. We've notified Homeland Security."
"Who killed him, then?"
"It was the man who accosted her in the alley. Another spy. Kurt Woolsey. He worked for the Chinese. He wanted the data she was supplying to the Russians."
"I don't get it. If he murdered the Russian, why didn't he get the data that night?"
"Couldn't find it. He tried to rouse Sam to force her to tell him, but she was in no condition to answer. That's why he came after her in the alley."
"If this Kurt guy did it, why were her prints on the knife?"
"My wife, the detective," Paul replied with a smile.
"Living with you all these years has rubbed off on me."
"Why were her hands on the knife? Well, he wiped it clean and placed her hands on it while she was semi-conscious to implicate her. Sam told me she remembered having it in her hands. For a while, she was worried she had actually done it."
"So were friend Cindy. She didn't have anything to do with it."
"Quite the opposite. Cindy is the one who fed Kurt with the information. You see, they both worked in the same department at Lumio D, but had different levels of access. While Sam was supplying information to the Russians, Cindy supplied the Chinese. She tried to convince Sam to join her. The Chinese offered her a lot more than what the Russians were paying. But by then, Sam was enchanted with Alex. She refused. Cindy was furious, but didn't show it. Meeting for drinks that evening was Cindy's idea. She knew her friend was doing the drop, so she notified Kurt. She ensured Sam and Alex got drunk. Kurt followed them home to get the stick. He murdered Alex to get a rival out of the way."
"What an awful woman, deceiving her friend like that. Didn't care if she was implicated for murder. I'm so glad you were able to figure it out."
"Yeah, though Samantha's no angel. She kinda deserved it."
"Yes, she did. What happens to Cindy?"
"She's in trouble with Homeland, too."
"Good. What happened to the Civic?"
"Kurt drove off with it. He figured if the stick was not in the apartment, then it must be in Alex's car. He didn't want to risk a search in the parking lot. A secluded spot would work better. He burned the car once he was done to ensure there was no evidence of his presence. We found the remains out by Greenwich Elementary."
"He didn't search Samantha's car?"
"He wanted to, but it was already morning by the time he had returned. Too risky."
"What about Alex's laptop?"
"It was in his car. Kurt took it home with him. We've handed it off to Homeland."
The house fell silent for a few seconds.
"Honey?"
Paul broke the silence. "Yes?"
"What's for dinner?"
"Your favorite."
"I'm starving."
"Why am I not surprised?" Brigitte chuckled. Paul joined in. "Let's eat," she said.
"Yes, let's do that."
Author's note. This is where it all started, my first short story. The basic idea had been camping in my head for a while. A woman wakes up to find a dead man next to her with no memory of what happened. It's a common trope, but I was sure I had a compelling story to tell. At the time, I was wrapping up Barefoot in the parking lot, and my mind only functioned in terms of novels. So I let it sit, like a lot of other ideas that were popping up. But I couldn't stop thinking about this one. The plot developed. There's a mystery man watching her. She's innocent, but I still didn't have anything for a full novel. It's only after I completed my novel that it occurred to me that I didn't have to limit myself to longer works. Short stories were a great alternative. It was so liberating, and soon things fell in place. I started writing, not knowing that the story would veer into spy territory. Writing the Detective Conley character in Barefoot in the Parking Lot was a delight, and this story allowed me to keep him going. And you finally got to meet lovely Brigitte. All right, everyone. It is just after 10 o'clock. We've been going for about 2 hours now, which means we've had about enough. I've gone about as far as my voice will allow me to go this evening. I hope you guys have enjoyed these readings by Vineet Verma. Lots of mystery types of stories, suspenseful stories. Go out there and check him out, would you? Once again, you can find his work on bookstoread.com. Tonight we went through Barefoot in the Parking Lot, Shattered Lives, and we started with a story from Devious Minds. Stop out there and check them out. As always, the stories we read tonight, the chapters that we read, will all be available on my YouTube channel, youtube.com/@SirArminius, a little bit later this evening. I hope you enjoyed the reading tonight. Thank you so much for coming along to spend some time with me. The greatest gift that you can give me is a gift of your time. Now, don't get me wrong, I'd love if you'd stop by the YouTube channel and subscribe if you haven't already. It's free. What are you waiting for? Other than that, have a wonderful evening. I'm looking forward to seeing you guys again on Saturday when we start a new book to read. Have a wonderful evening, everybody, and I will see you guys again really soon. Good night, all.